Hi everyone, welcome to another Procreate tutorial. This is the drawing that we will be completing in today's video, this fun daisies in a watering can drawing with lots of different textures going on, so that part is really fun. We just lay down all the base shapes first, and then we go through and texturize all of them with highlights and shadows and our texture brush. And then we will kind of finish off the background at the very end if you want to. You can also leave the splotches on the background out, and that looks nice as well. So if you are new here, I mainly post Procreate tutorials, so if that is something you are interested in, go ahead and subscribe. I also offer extra tutorials over on Patreon, so I will link that in the description below if you want to check that out. Otherwise, before we get started, the only thing that you will need to do is download the color palette. I also have that linked in the description below. It's totally free to download. Just open up the file that downloads on your iPad and it will automatically pop into Procreate so that you can use the same colors as you follow along with the video today. All of the brushes that we use are standard Procreate brushes, so there's nothing to download there. And then I will post the canvas dimensions, color profile, and layers needed on the screen and in the description below so that you can use those to set up your canvas. So take a minute to get everything ready and then come back and we will get started. Okay, this is the color palette that we will be working with today. Lots of different variations on all of our colors to get all of our different shading and highlights and textures and whatnot. So let's just go ahead and set up the background first. So it's going to be this lighter green color with a slightly darker green circle in the middle. Let's go ahead and just set that up. So first we will go to our layer menu, click on this background color layer, select this first color on the first row of the color palette to set it to this lighter color. Then let's just go ahead and make sure we're on layer 1 here. Grab our second color on the top row. Grab our monoline brush under the calligraphy tab. I will set that to just 70%. And we will just draw a nice perfect circle. So let's just draw a circle on our screen. Hold it down till it turns perfectly smooth and then touch your finger on the screen to make it a perfect circle. Set a good size, just about maybe here for now. We'll go ahead and fill it in. And then we will click our arrow tool and we can resize it on uniform if we need to. But most importantly, we just want it centered on the very center of our canvas. So make sure that snapping is turned on in the bottom left. And then we will just slide it around until we hit these two yellow lines, the vertical and the horizontal. That's the exact center of our canvas. And then again, resize it if you need to, but I'm going to leave it about here with like a little bit of room all the way around, like so. Okay, then we will just go ahead and begin drawing our watering can. So let's go to our layer menu, add a new layer above this layer. Grab our third color on the top row of our color palette. This will be our base color for most of our pieces here. So we will still be on our monoline brush at 70%. And first we will just draw the base of the bottom of the watering can, which will just be a nice super skinny oval. So I'll just kind of start towards the bottom of the circle here. Draw a nice skinny oval. Hold it down until it turns perfectly smooth and then touch your finger on the screen to make it perfectly horizontal. So if yours turned into a circle, you just drew it too close to a circle shape, so just draw it more like an oval, and then once you touch it, it'll snap to horizontal, and that's what we want. So set it a good size. I'll maybe do just something about like this at the bottom of the circle here. Then go ahead and just fill it in. Don't edit it with this button at the top. Fill it in, and then if we need to adjust it at all, we'll do so using our arrow tool. So arrow tool on uniform or freeform, you can adjust it. So freeform if you need to make it like skinnier from top to bottom or anything. Uniform if you just want to resize the whole thing. And then again with snapping turned on in the bottom left, let's center it on our canvas from left to right. Again, kind of at the bottom of the circle here. I might make it a little bit smaller, but again, very skinny from top to bottom like so. And centered. So if you do any resizing, just make sure to recenter it. Then we are going to duplicate this oval to get the top of our watering can. So like the hole on the top of it where our flowers will sit inside. So we will go to our layer menu, make a duplicate of this oval layer, grab the one on the top, click the arrow tool on uniform. We will downsize it a good amount. Then we'll drag it up on our center line here. So right here, drag it up a good ways maybe to about halfway through the circle is about as far as we want to go up so that we have plenty of room to add our flowers and stuff on the top. So about right here. Okay, then we will recolor it. So this is going to be the inside, so it's going to be a darker color. So it's going to be this first of these last 3 colors on the top row. So it is the 8th one in line here, right next to our really light color there. Drag and drop to fill in the oval with that color. Okay, I might make it a little bit wider, so I'll just grab my arrow tool and uniform, widen it just a little bit, and then recenter it again. So then our edges will connect on the side here from this to this, and we want them to be slightly angled, but not too crazy, nothing like, you know, this. So just a slight difference in size there. But to make our angled lines, we are going to do that in our base color. We are going to go back to our base oval here, the one on the bottom. So find that layer on the layer menu, switch back to that color, the 3rd one on the top row, same monoline brush, and we will just start on the left side here. So I will just start on the bottom at the very edge of this oval, draw a straight line going up to our other oval at the top here, and it just sinks below it since we're on the layer below it. Click the edit line button at the top if you need to adjust it, so just make sure these meet up nicely on each side, the top and the bottom like so. And then we will just do the same thing on the other side here. Hold it down, go ahead and click the line button at the top to adjust it. Okay. Then to get this all filled in, we're just going to connect these 2 lines across the top. Since this darker oval's on a different layer, we need to connect it all on this layer so that we can fill in this middle area. Okay, and then that is the start of our watering can. So next we will make the handle on the right side. So we'll go to our layer menu, add a new layer below this layer. So find our circle layer, add a layer right above that. So we're below our main body of our watering can here. Same color though, same brush, and we will just kind of zoom in on the right side here. I'll start a little ways from the top and just make a nice curved line like this. Hold it down until it turns perfectly smooth. You can click the edit button at the top to adjust it though, adjust the size, adjust the placement if you need to. So it's just kind of right here. We'll thicken it up here in a second, but just kind of set something that you like there. Okay, then to thicken it up, we'll just go to our layer menu, make a duplicate of this layer. So slide to the left and hit duplicate. Either one that you're on is fine. We'll just grab our arrow tool on uniform, downsize it a good amount, and kind of recenter it here so that it's in the middle from top to bottom, like so. And then we can just fill in the in-between here with our brush, because they are on separate layers again, so we won't be able to fill them in just with our color dropper. But now that that's all filled in and that's all set, we can go to our layer menu and snap these 2 layers together so they're all in one layer, both of our handle layers. So we have our handle, our body, and our top opening. So now we'll make this spout, so we'll do that on another new layer. So let's go ahead and add a new layer, still underneath our main body, same color, same brush and everything, and we are going to go to the left side now. So I'll first just create the little oval for the spout in the front. So that'll be kind of like straight across from the top of our watering can here. So just kind of straight across, kind of out here towards the edge. We'll make a nice, good oval, hold it down kind of at an angle here like this. Kind of set the size however you want. You can use the edit ellipse button this time and adjust it if you need to. But yeah, just kind of at a slight angle, a nice good size here, and then go ahead and fill that in. If you need to make any adjustments still after it's filled in, just do so using the arrow tool. Okay, and then now we'll add the piece that connects them, and we will add that on a new layer. So we'll go to our layer menu, add a layer below this layer that we just created our oval on, right in there. So above our handle, below our oval. Same brush, same color, and we will just kind of start a little towards the middle, a little to the right of the middle of like this piece right here. Draw a nice kind of angled line back down to our watering can. Go over from that a little bit and draw another one. Hold it down each time to make a perfectly straight line, getting wider at the bottom than at the top. So I hold it down and then I just kind of drag it around so I get a nice wider angle there. Then let's connect it here. Connect them here so that we can fill them in. And then if you need to adjust it at all, you can. Arrow tool, you can move it around to kind of recenter it better on our oval. You can also alternatively move the oval if you would rather. So just kind of place it nicely. You can rotate it a little if you need to or anything, just kind of whatever you need to do to get it looking how you would like. Okay, and that is it for now. We'll do all the texturing later. Once we have everything laid out, we'll kind of do that all at once, like one by one. So we're just laying down the base colors for now. So next up is our flowers. Okay, so we will first place the centers of the flowers so that we can kind of space those out nicely. Then we'll draw the petals around them, and then we'll draw the stems into our watering can. So for the flowers, let's just go ahead and add a new layer at the very top of our layer menu. Grab this first color on the second row of the color palette. Same monoline brush at 70%. Okay, and we're just going to create a nice oval for the center of each flower. So I'm just going to start kind of straight up from my center here, a good ways, maybe like towards the top of my circle, kind of depending on where it is, and make a nice kind of oval at just a slight angle. You can adjust it, so hold it down until it turns perfectly smooth, then click the edit button at the top to adjust it. We want kind of a little, just kind of small, like fatter oval like this. Again, I have it just slightly angled there. Then we'll go ahead and fill that in. Okay, I'll move to the right a ways. Make another oval kind of angled this way. Hold that down. Edit it if you need to, but that looks good. I'm just going to fill it in. Same thing on the left here towards the edge of our circle. Oval. Hold it down. Edit it if you need to. And fill it in. Okay, then we'll make two more a little bit lower, so kind of in between each of these sets. So we'll kind of go just down a little ways from this one here. We'll make another one kind of like halfway between like the top of our watering can and the ovals themselves. We'll make another one pretty small this time, so a little bit smaller. Edit it if you need to. Maybe about like this, angled slightly here, and fill that in. And then similar over here, another small little oval, and fill that in. Okay, so those are all in the same layer. Again, we'll come back and texturize them later. But now we're going to draw our petals on a new layer. So let's add a new layer below this layer that we were just on. So underneath our ovals here, we'll grab the fourth color on the second row. Same monoline brush. So let's drop our size to like 30% so we can get some skinnier lines. And I am just going to zoom in on each one of these and start drawing my petals. So I'll start kind of towards the top edge on one side. And we'll just draw our nice fun petals all the way around. And I just am kind of drawing them without picking my brush up at all. Drawing them from one edge to the other and then kind of connecting them at the back. Nothing on top here. And then we can go ahead and fill them in. Some of them might fill in all together, otherwise you can click this continue filling button at the top to fill the other ones in as well. Okay, so redraw them if you need to. That one got kind of wonky on me, but I think I will just leave it. And I will move on to my next one. So again, we just don't want them to overlap, so just kind of draw them at a good size for the base, but then just make sure not to overlap them. And if you need to draw them in sections, go ahead and do so. So the first few I just kind of drew all at once. But if you need to kind of pick up your brush in between every few petals or even every single petal, if you need to draw them all kind of one by one, go ahead and do so, whatever works for you. And you can even go through and adjust them too. So like this one, it all looks good except this left one's way too skinny. I will just kind of go over that one again and kind of extend it so it's a little thicker and kind of works a little bit better. So then same thing like for these other ones, like this one got kind of short, I might just lengthen that one. You know, same thing for these ones, kind of got too skinny at the beginning. Okay. Then we will just kind of continue on. And our final one here, so I'm just kind of turning each one as I go. So just kind of turning to go along with the angle of our flower center. Okay, and then you can adjust any of them further. So if you need to kind of go over any of them more to get them thicker or longer, go ahead and do so. You can also, since they're not overlapping, you can use your selection tool on freehand and just like select around one and then click your arrow tool on uniform or freeform or whatever, and you can kind of increase the size or move it around or whatever you need to do if you need to make any adjustments like that. But again, just make sure they're not overlapping, and then we will go ahead and move on after you've made any adjustments, and we can adjust more later as well. So no worries there. If you need to adjust your flower centers, you can go back to that layer and do so. Like maybe this one, I like the way, that looks. I'm just going to move my center a little bit. Beautiful. So now we can draw the stems for them. So that will be also on a new layer, also underneath our petals. So right above our dark blue oval, we'll add a new layer there for our stems. So that will be with the first color on the last row of the color palette. Same monoline brush. I think 30 looks good. So 30% for our size. I am just going to start kind of towards the base of each one and draw towards my oval, kind of in a slightly curved motion. I didn't hold it down or anything, and I just make sure to draw past it on the bottom there. So we'll come back through and erase that nicely later, but we do want it to be like nestled inside, so we don't want to stop it short. We want to just drag it all the way over. Okay, and again, we want to kind of prevent any overlapping. So let's just kind of draw them all kind of individually, like so. Okay, then we're going to add some leaves to them. Again, no overlapping here. So let's just start on the left side here and just kind of see where a nice leaves would be. So I'll start kind of more towards the base. I'll draw a nice curved line there, curved line back, fill it in. I'll go up a little further, draw a curved line, fill it in. If you need to hold them down, if that's more helpful to you, go ahead and do so. Okay, then for the next one, we'll maybe have one kind of popping out here. We will erase that bit underneath later, but that's okay. We can kind of have it pop out there. And then a higher one here. Okay, and then our next one, maybe we'll have one in this space here. Here. And maybe one more for this one since it's a bit bigger, since it's a bit longer. We'll just kind of place it there underneath that one. So they can overlap with the petals and stuff, they just can't overlap with each other. So just no green overlapping any green. Okay, so then maybe we'll make a nice leaf here to fill in this space. Then we'll add another one on this side here. And then the same thing on the next one. Going up. And maybe one more that's back here. Can't really see all of it, that's okay. If you can see all of it, great. But just at least make sure it's connected so you can fill it in and kind of place it back there where it belongs. Okay, so then that's it for our stems and our flowers and our petals. So just make sure you like how everything is looking. I think my centers got a little bit too big, so I'm just going to go through and kind of readjust their sizes again. Just a little bit, kind of make sure they still stay lined up where they need to be, but they just got way too big on me. So I am going to adjust those down, all of them. Individually, I could do the whole layer at once and then I would have to remove them all around though. So instead I'm just doing them each individually so I can just kind of place them when I'm done. Okay, so that looks a little bit better in my opinion, but go ahead and do whatever works for your picture. If you need to move anything around, you can do that as well. So everything is separated, nothing's touching. So like, let's say you want to move this stem on the left here. I can go to my stem layer, grab my selection tool, select around it, being careful where they come close to each other to not touch the other one. Then end my selection, click my arrow tool, and then you can kind of like move it around. So I might just kind of rotate this one and place it a little bit more towards the left here. So just to kind of space it out better. So go ahead and feel free to move anything around that you need to. Same thing with the flower petals. You can select around them individually on their layer. Just be sure to be careful once you are kind of close to where they're potentially almost intersecting, to be more careful there. Then we are going to add just a few more leaves in the background, some more stems with leaves on them. So they are going to be behind all of our layers on the top here so far, so still right above our dark blue opening layer here. Add a new layer right above that, grab our fourth color on the last row, and same brush at the same size, and we're just going to add some more kind of leaf sprigs in the background. So again, they can overlap with all of our other designs, but they can't overlap with each other. So I'll just start kind of right here in the middle of like this right side here. So I get a nice stem right here. So I'll just kind of start there and like make a nice stem out. Maybe make it a little further. There we go. Same thing on the left side here, kind of in between those. I'll make a nice big one there. And then maybe a shorter one on the side here, just kind of wherever you can see it. And then same thing on the left side here, just kind of coming out. Just a nice little one there. Maybe we can't even see the top of it. That's okay too. Again, I extended the stems past my dark blue oval here. We'll get rid of all that in a moment. But we do want it to extend past it so that it cuts off right at the edge there and not cuts off in the middle somewhere. Okay, then to draw our leaves on each one, I'll zoom in on the right one here at the top where I can see it. And for our leaves, we're just going to draw a kind of oval off one side, oval off the other in the exact same location like this. And we will just do this all the way down. So I can't see any right here, so I'll just kind of skip that and I'll just kind of start here where I can see them again. Trying to keep the size pretty consistent all the way down, not getting any bigger or anything, because if they got bigger as they went down, we would definitely run into each other at the bottom, and we don't want that. We want them to still be separated. So we'll just kind of make them nice and small all the way down until, so like right here, if I were to draw another one right here, it would probably overlap. So I'm just going to make this one a little bit smaller here so they hopefully don't overlap. Okay, then I'll probably just stop there on that one. Get to my next one, start on the top. So they just kind of angle slight in the slightest little like V formation, just barely. They're almost all like they're almost like completely horizontal with each other, but just the slightest little upturn on each side. So then we can't see them again, so I'll just kind of wait till I get down here and start again. Again, just making sure not to overlap with my other one. So here we're kind of close, but I think I can avoid it. So there's a nice gap there. That looks good. Maybe make one more that we can kind of see towards the bottom. Some of that will get erased, but that's okay. Kind of keeps the continuity going. We will do the same thing on this next one. And then our last one, I can't even really see the top here. I might kind of pretend that I can see just like the teeniest little bit right there, like that's the top of it. And then we'll go down and draw another set that we can't see all of. This set that we can see most of, and then we'll kind of keep that going. Okay, then again, we probably wouldn't see this left one, but then the right one will come up. Again, I'm kind of close to my other one, but not quite touching it. Just kind of, you can even just stagger them a little further if you need to kind of avoid that. But yeah. Okay, but then once that's done, that is it for all of our pieces. So now we're going to go through and do all of our shading and everything. So first things first, let's go ahead and erase the bottoms of our stems here, so those aren't still poking over our watering can. So to do the erasing, here's what we will do. We are going to go to our layer menu. We are going to find the dark blue oval layer that we want to cut everything off with. Click on that layer on the layer menu, click select. Make sure like color fill is not turned on or anything, nothing weird happens. You should see diagonal lines on the outside of the shape. Click invert, and then you should see diagonal lines on the inside of the shape. Without doing anything else, we're just going to switch back to our green leafy layer right above this one. Grab our eraser tool, which I also have set to the monoline brush, and you should still see your diagonal lines on the inside of this oval here. So then when we start erasing on the outside of it, it cuts it off right where that selection starts. So just erase all the way across the bottom here, erasing anything that goes over the edge. Okay, then still with that selected, we'll switch to our other stem layer here right above this one. Same thing, we'll just erase everything, cutting it off at the bottom there. If you get close to the edge at all, just make sure to erase just anything here. So just make sure you're not going up into your actual shapes above it, because it'll erase there as well, anything outside the oval. So just wanted to cut that all off at the bottom there. So now we can click our selection tool up here to turn that off, and this is what we're left with. Okay, so now we can move on to all of our textures. So let's just start with our watering can. Since we drew that first, we'll start there. So let's just start at the very bottom layer. So the bottom layer for me is my handle, so go ahead and find your handle layer. Click on that layer, turn on alpha lock. And now we'll use all of our next shades. So we used our third color on the top row as our base color. We'll use our next color for a slightly darker color, the color after that for a really dark shadow, highlight, and highlight. And then these were for the top oval. So just these next four colors, so the two darker, two lighter. So we'll start with the second one in line of these colors, so the fourth one on the top row. The texture brush that we're going to use for all of this is going to be the 2B compressed charcoal brush under the charcoals category. And I have that set to 10%. So for this slightly darker color, I'm just going to kind of focus right on the edges here where the handle meets the main shape. So I'll make a good amount there, going like, roughly towards the top and bottom. Then we'll move on to our darkest color, the next one in line, fifth one on the top row, and we'll just keep that a little bit closer to the base to add like a darker shadow there. Then for our highlight colors, so our next one in line, the sixth one on the top row, we'll add that kind of more towards the outer edge, just kind of all over. And then we'll grab our lightest color, the seventh one on the top row, and add that just on the very, very outer edge to add an extra highlight there, kind of like maybe even on the top a little bit. So we're just going to kind of do that same thing all over. So let's just move on to our next layer. So our next layer for me is my little spout piece here that connects to my opening. So that little angled piece here. So find that layer on the layer menu, click on it, turn on alpha lock. Okay, and we'll just kind of start over again. So again, fourth color on the top row, our first darker color, and we will again maybe add that just kind of all over this bottom section here. Mostly close to the base and even a little bit just close to our spout piece. So just kind of all around the bottom half there and at the bases of both sides. Then we'll grab our darker color, the fifth one on the top row, and just keep that again closer to everything to add a little darker bit there, just a little bit. Then our next color, the lighter one, the sixth one on the top row. And we'll just kind of add that in just the rest of this open space here towards the top middle. And then our highlight color, our brightest one, the seventh one on the top row, and we'll just keep that right towards the tippy top right here. Again, not going over our shadows at all, just kind of in this opening bit that's still showing. Okay, then we will move on to our next layer. That is the oval for me. So click on that layer, turn on alpha lock. Again, start over on our fourth color on the top row. We'll just kind of add this all towards like the bottom half-ish, like so. Kind of like in an almost like horizontal line. Then our darkest color, again, just kind of closer to the bottom in like a kind of horizontal line. I'm maybe curving it just the teeniest little bit. Okay, then our lighter color, the 6th one on the top row, towards the top half, just kind of the whole top half that we haven't covered yet. And then our lightest color, 7th one on the top row at the very top, kind of following the edges a little bit to add some highlight there. Okay, and I want the distinction between these two to be a little bit better. So I'm going to go back to my angled like piece here, grab my darkest color again, and just kind of go over that a little bit more so we get a little bit more of a shadow and a distinction between those two layers there. So maybe not quite that hard. You can lower your brush size if you ever need to, but just something so we can see that difference a little bit better there. They were kind of blending in. I don't know if that happened to you too, but if it did, that is how to fix it. Okay, now we have our big shape. So this one we might need to adjust our brush sizes a little bit. We'll kind of see, but let's go to our main shape here. Click on that layer, turn on alpha lock, and again, we'll reset on our 4th color on the top row. Okay, I'm just probably going to increase my brush off the start to like 20%, kind of see how that goes. So I am again just going to kind of maybe start on this left side here and just kind of, I think I'm going to decide that this bottom right corner is in shadow more. So we'll just kind of go at the slightest angle, kind of following like a little kind of curve shape here, just on the bottom half right here. So it goes up a little higher on the right, down a little lower on the left. And I just kind of covered all that. Okay, then we'll grab our darkest color, 5th one on the top row, and we'll start on the bottom corner and just kind of work our way in, gradually getting kind of light when we get a good ways in, so it kind of blends a little bit better, but getting kind of dark in this corner, like so. Then we'll do the opposite with our lighter colors, so grab our next one in line, the 6th one on the top row, and we'll kind of do the other half now, so we'll kind of start here, do the whole top and left half with this and just kind of try to blend them together. So right where they meet, I'm just going to very, very lightly add this lighter color just so they kind of blend. And it's okay if there's some kind of stripes going on with our texture, that is totally fine. But go ahead and get that looking good. And then we'll grab our lightest color, the 7th one again, and focus that just on like the rim here. Across the top, lower your size if you need to. Mine is fine. I'm just kind of keeping it right towards the top. And then on the top left kind of corner, kind of blend that out as well and add a little bit extra there. So we kind of get a nice gradient going down. Go ahead and try to blend yours out as best as you can, just using your brushes in the different colors. But I'm just going to move on to my inner oval here. So the top oval that's darker, click on that layer, turn on alpha lock. This is our base color, the 8th one on the top row. So we just have one lighter and one darker. So we'll just grab our lighter color, the 9th one on the top row. Same brush, I'll keep it at 20% even, and I'm just going to go kind of across the top back edge of our oval here. Then I'll grab my darker color and go in this bottom middle area with the darker color to get kind of a shadow inside. That is it for our teapot. So now we'll just move on to all of our flower pieces. So we'll just do the same thing. We'll just keep going up. So our next layer in line is this lighter green, the longer leaf sprigs. So we will click on that layer, turn on alpha lock. The color that we used for the base was the 4th color on the bottom row. So we have one lighter and one darker color. This last color in line is our splotchy color for the background later. So just these next two, the really, really bright green and then the darker one next to it. So the 5th and 6th one on the bottom row. So we'll start with the 5th one, the lighter one. And we'll stay on our to be compressed charcoal brush, but we'll probably drop the size a good amount to maybe like 5%. So pretty small. And we will just go through and focus on just the tops of each of these leaves. So set the size to whatever you need to do so nicely so that we still have room on the bottom for our shadow. So it's a little more tedious, so just kind of roll through pretty quick and add a quick highlight to all of them. You can even go across your stem if you want. I kind of haven't been, but you totally can if that's fine with you. Okay, and we're at the last ones there. Okay, so then we'll just do the same exact thing now with our darker colors. So the 6th one on the bottom row, we'll just go back through and just start on the bottom and do that as well. Again, make sure your brush size is working for you. If you need to lower it any further, go ahead and do so. But this is kind of why it was very important that nothing overlapped, because like if these overlapped right here and I was like drawing on the next one where the highlight should be or something, like that would be kind of a problem. So that is why it was so important not to overlap any of our pieces. Okay, so next up is our darker green leaves and stems that connect to our flowers. So we will find that layer in our layer menu, click on it and turn on alpha lock. The color for that was the first color on the last row. So our second color is the highlight, our third color is the shadow. So we'll just start with our second color on the bottom row. Same brush at 5% is still good, or whatever works for you. Let's just go ahead and just add a highlight to the tops of each of the leaves. Nothing to do with the stem, really. The stem is just fine on its own, being left alone. But a nice highlight on each of the leaves is good. Then we'll move on to our shadow color, the third one on the bottom row. Same thing on the other side to add a nice shadow there. Kind of try to do it lightly, blend it in nice. But good to get some kind of distinction and dimension and texture, like so. Okay, then lastly, not lastly, but almost lastly, our white petals. Let's find that layer, click on it, turn on alpha lock. And this one's not weird necessarily, but we just have 4 colors. The base color is like super close to white, so we have a little bit of a creamier color for some texture kind of all over. This third color in line of this group of 4 here is our kind of shadow color, which will just be around the base middle piece, and then bright white for the edges as like a highlight. So we're going to start with this 5th color on the second row. It's just slightly darker than our base color. Same brush at 5%, and I'm just going to go through and kind of starting at the middle, I'm just going to kind of add this like halfway through each of the petals, like so. So it's very hard to kind of see it, but it does add some good texture and just a little bit of difference in color all the way around. Again, we'll add white to the very edges in the same texture. Okay. Then we'll grab our darker color, the third one in our group here, so the 6th one on the second row, and we will just keep that right at the base. So again, lower your size if you need to any further. I'm still on 5%. We're just going to add that all the way around the base here. Okay, and then we will add the whites on the ends. So that will be this bright white color, the 7th one on the 2nd row, and we'll just add that on the ends. So again, it's kind of hard to see because all these colors are very similar, but it does add some good texture back in and some kind of brightness and highlights as well. Okay, and then lastly, our flower centers. We will find that layer on our layer menu at the very top, click on it, turn on alpha lock, and those are these 3 colors on our color palette, the first 3 on the 2nd row. So the first one was our base, the second will be our shadow, and the third will be our highlight. So we'll start with the second one, the shadow color, second on the 2nd row, same brush at 5%, and I will just, again, do this on the same side as my petals. So this is kind of our bottom. So I'm just going to do it just on this side, just kind of lightly when we get towards the center, all on that same side there. So it's not going all the way around, just don't touch the tops, just the bottom and the sides in kind of a curved motion. Okay, and then we will grab our highlight color, the 3rd one on the 2nd row, and just kind of fill in this top middle area. So very lightly, just kind of add that in the top and the middle in kind of a, ovular motion as well, matching the shape of our center here. And just kind of blending in with our shadow color when we get to it, just kind of lightly there to kind of blend it together. Okay, so then that is it for all of our textures and highlights and shadows and everything for all of our pieces. The last thing is we will add some little dots to the top of our spout here to where the water will come out. So let's go ahead and just add that on a brand new layer at the very top. We will grab the 8th color on the top row that we used for the inner oval at the beginning. So the 8th color in line there. We are going to switch to the dry ink brush under the inking category. So find that brush for this step. We'll set that to 10%. And we'll just zoom in here, and I am just going to start kind of towards the top, and I'm just going to create like a slightly, just like what would be a vertical oval if you're looking at it straight on, like up and down like this. So if we turn it this way, just kind of straight up and down ovals, just kind of here and there, nothing too perfect, nothing too crazy. I'm kind of going like back and forth in like a slightly polka dot pattern, and I'm just kind of leaving a little edge here where I'm not adding any. So they're all a little bit closer to this left side than they are to the right side because of the angle that we're looking at it from. And then just kind of when we get to the bottom, we'll just kind of stop there. So those are our little pore holes. And then they are in a separate layer too, so if you need to move them around or anything, you can click your arrow tool and you can move them or resize them or whatever. Okay, and then otherwise, the very last step is to add some texture to the background. If you would like to, this step is kind of optional. I really like it both ways, so this would be the final product without the last step. Otherwise, we're going to add a little bit of splotchy texture to the background just to kind of make it more texturized like our main objects are. So to do that, we will just go to our layer menu, find our circle layer at the very, very bottom, and a layer right above that. So we're right above our circle and our background color layer. On this new layer here, click the N to open up the options and drag the style here, drag it up to multiply. Okay, grab this last color on the last row of the color palette. It is the 7th one in line. And to make our textures, we are going to go under the water category of our brushes here, the water flicks brush. Let's set the size first to like 20, and we are going to kind of splotch these all over the background, pushing kind of hard. So it is pressure sensitive. The harder you push, the bigger splotches you'll get. So I'm just kind of pushing like pretty medium to get some like decent ones. That one's maybe a little too big. So I'm just going to kind of go around and just kind of alternate. Even we can do some little ones here and there, but just kind of all around behind my flowers and stuff too. just to get some of these, just to add some texture. So I'll kind of go through and do some big ones. And then we can also lower our brush size a bit to like 10% and tap around pretty lightly to get some pretty small little pieces in the middle as well, just to kind of add some more all over the place, going off the edges even, just to add a good amount all the way around. So again, this is optional. If you don't like the way this looks, you can try it out and you can just delete this layer if you don't like it. But I think it kind of adds a fun texture to the whole thing, just so we have texture everywhere. So anyway, you can also just add like a little bit or a lot, kind of whatever you want to do, or again, just not at all. But either way, that is the end of our drawing today. So I hope you had fun. I hope you liked the way that yours turned out. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you'd like to see more tutorials from me in the future. As I mentioned earlier, I have extra tutorials available over on Patreon, so that is linked in the description below if you want to check those out. Also, if you would like to share your drawing on Instagram, I would love to see it, so go ahead and post it and then tag me so that I can check it out. While you're there, go ahead and give me a follow so you can see what I'm working on next. Thanks for watching!